Hello.
Hey guys.
How's everyone doing today? Good. Yeah. Hey, I have a quick question for you folks. How many folks are locals? Hands up. Anyone? Yeah, all right. How many folks came from an hour or further away? Hands up. 2 hours, 4 hours, 8, 12? Oh my gosh. Well, whether you walked here or you took an international flight, Nitika and I are so excited to be here and humbled to be talking with you today about identity. My name is Adam Steenwyk. I'm a program manager on the Azure Active Directory identity management team.
Hi folks, my name is Nitika Gupta. I'm a program manager on the identity team at Microsoft as well.
And I'll be doing the talk track for this, and Nitika is going to be doing some really cool demos as we go through this whole scenario.
How many of you have seen demos at the Identiverse talk so far? Okay, good.
Awesome.
So I know demos, the Wi-Fi is stable, the demos are working.
Always got to check that.
Makes me feel better.
Right? And so, you know, this conference is one of the most exciting conferences for us as identity management professionals because we get to learn from all of you folks, and we also, get to learn about all the new cutting-edge stuff that's going on. This session is really about how to create your foundation for identity. So it's very practical. It's going to be very focused on specific things that you can do and bring back to your organization to take action on. So we're really excited about this. So how many of you folks are starting a new identity-related project in the next 6 months to a year? Hands up. OK. It can be kind of overwhelming. You know, you kind of get set up here, get all ready to go. Ah, yeah, OK. And then, bam! You get nailed, right? Right? You feel that way. Identity management is not easy. You know, the wave is hitting you. What is the wave comprised of? Well, we talk to customers all the time. Budgets are shrinking, right? Yeah? Yeah? The business is asking you to do stuff constantly. Onboard these apps. Do this thing for me. Oh, my gosh. Your CEO, CFO, C-star, whatever, is calling you at 6 o'clock at night when you're just sitting down for a nice dinner with your family and saying, how come this thing is happening? I'm in India and something broke. Anyone have that kind of experience before? Never, yeah, never, right. And then your auditors are hammering you. You're not compliant. What are you doing? Your users are asking you to do self-service. Your HR is being like, hey, my user onboarding process needs to be 8 times faster. What are you doing to me? And so it's an overwhelming experience. And there's so much going on. I mean, it's a reflection of the modern world, right? We live in a fast-paced world. And as IT professionals, you're often the ones holding the bag because the buck stops with you folks, right? And I just wanted a day at the beach. So what is this? Anybody know what this is? Anyone see this picture before? So this is a lighthouse in France. It's called La Jument, and I cannot speak French, so I apologize for the horrible pronunciation. It is located here, right at the northwest coast off of Brittany. And this is a pretty cool lighthouse. It was built in 1906, and what you'll notice about this is that it's taken a hammering from this wave. So in 1989, this photographer hopped on a plane during gale force winds. There were 60 to 80-foot waves. And he took this helicopter out to get pictures of the storm. And he noticed this lighthouse, and it was just getting hammered. This lighthouse is 150 feet high, and waves were cresting over the top of it. That's how crazy it was. And what do you notice in the middle there? Well, look how he's standing. He's like, yeah. Yeah. That's a guy who is confident in his foundation, right? The door is open. This is crazy, right? So that's what we want you to get out of this. We want you to have that foundation. We want you to be able to stand in the waves of identity craziness and be like, yeah. Right? So that's what this talk's going to be about. So how are we going to do that? First is we're going to introduce you to 4 steps to your strong foundation. We even wrote a white paper for you folks that is based off of this. We're going to give you kind of an intro to the white paper here, but please download it. We're going to be hammering you with the link. Go take a picture of it, what have you. We're going to be talking about the why, the how, the best practices behind this framework. And we want you to leave here with a checklist for success, right? So this is a very practical session. We're going to tell you what you can do now, what you can do the next couple weeks, next couple months, et cetera. Sound good? Yeah. All right. So here are the steps. And there's the white paper, aka.ms/strong identity. Don't worry if you missed it, because I'll be repeating it over and over again. We even have stickers if you want. Come on up. We'll give you some stickers. It's pretty straightforward. The first two are about centralization. Get to one place for all of your apps. Find where they are, discover them, classify them. But get going quickly. Don't worry about the fact that you might have a ton of them. You can start today. I mean, it's a big problem, but it's a tractable problem. The second, get to one identity per user. I'll bring you through some fun pictures that kind of like talk about the story from the perspective of multiple copies of different people. No one wants that. You want to get to a single pane of glass for what's actually been going on, right? Once you get to that single pane of glass, once you start that centralization process, give users the tools that they need to get their jobs done, but make sure it's secure, right? It's that balance between usability and security that you're trying to strike. And my favorite, because I love data, brings out the inner nerd in me, is operationalization. I can't even say the word. Is operationalization. Because once you get it all in one place, then you have the benefit of having this source of data that you can just plumb for insights, right? It's amazing. And so please check out the white paper, but I'm going to start by talking about apps. So how many of you folks use apps?
Oh, wow.
Good catch.
Rocky.
Good catch. This is very slippery up here.
Yeah.
Does it ever feel like this? You ever feel like Lime Guy? You got like all these apps, you're like, oh, I can't handle them all. My favorite story about this is I spoke with, actually, my boss, who's sitting right there. Give me some props. He spoke with a gentleman one time who said, he asked the question, how many apps do you have in your organization? And this gentleman was like, I have 361. Oh, wow, really? 361. It turns out it's more than that. It's actually about 10 times more. So the person installed App Discovery tool and actually started inspecting network traffic. It was 10 times that number. So it's like business owners are like, oh, I've got apps over here. Your developers are creating apps like crazy. Your C-suite wants their apps. Your users, oh my gosh, so now you're no longer kind of like incredulously happy. You're rather sad. Because you've got to deal with this, right? How many folks feel this way? Yeah? Okay. So what are the benefits of getting down to one place? Well, the first is about risk management. And you're going to see these topic areas come up again and again. Risk management, addressing compliance, increasing user productivity, and managing your costs. I'm going to show you how each of these 4 steps enables you to get a handle on those important scenarios. So first, one place for apps. How are you securing your app credentials today? Can you press one red button to disable a user accessing something? If you can't, then you need to do this. If you can, then let's talk. The second is, so many people say, Adam, but I have an STS. I'm using ADFS. I've got one place for my apps. That's true, but is your STS an IAM solution? Are you really future-proof for your security through relying on tools like that? Consider the suite of capabilities that you have on an STS. The second is about addressing compliance. So, hey, great. Once you are able to control your app's access lifecycle in a single location, it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to attest to that access, for you to be able to set the right policies, that access is managed in the right ways. And that enables you to then go talk to your compliance officers with confidence. Reduce cost. Who doesn't want to decommission servers? Anyone like running servers? Yeah? No? OK. So decommission that expensive on-premises infrastructure. That's all part of that cost, the budget shrinking stuff that's been going on, right? And last, do your users even know that they're signing into your app? Think about this. Like, if they come to an application and they sign in with some identity, do they know it's you who's providing that service? Is it a strong branded experience? That's a huge thing about user productivity. That gives them confidence. That enables you to educate them about, hey, what you're using is a corporate resource, and you need to be careful about what you're doing with this. So how do you accomplish that? I'm going to give you some information about how you accomplish that with Azure Active Directory specifically. How many of you folks are Office 365 subscribers? OK, cool. How many of you folks are using Azure Active Directory for identity management today? Did you know that if you're an Office 365 subscriber, you're already using Azure AD behind the scenes? Anyone surprised by that? Anyone? OK, that's good. So the first thing is you want to get to one list of apps. So we've given you some tools, and we're going to actually demo this. Nitika's going to show this in a little bit. Go take a look at your ADFS or your other federation solution and just see what's there. Are there things that you can move quickly? Is there a big SaaS app that's already in our gallery? We've got thousands of applications in the Azure AD gallery that you can integrate right now. It could be that one of them is just sitting there on your ADFS waiting for you to take advantage of something you might already subscribe to. If you want to get more insights about those applications as well, you can use tools like Cloud App Security to do that discovery process that I talked about that led to the person discovering 10 times the number of apps within their organization. The other thing is, the Lime guy holding all the apps, right? Like, the challenge with that is, it's overwhelming. There's so many. How do you possibly start to create that spreadsheet, right? That's another thing. Create a spreadsheet. Everybody loves spreadsheets. But really focus on those quick wins. If you got a SaaS app, get it moved. If you've got an app that uses an open standard, get it moved. I mean, a lot of times you'll discover apps that are really old and really crusty. And don't worry necessarily right away about those. Focus on things that the low-hanging fruit that you can move quickly. For those apps that you need to remain on premises, we've got solutions for that as well. We've got remote access solutions with the Azure AD Application Proxy that will enable you to keep applications within your corporate control, keep them on premises, and proxy access to those applications down to users' devices, et cetera, et cetera. You can also use this to enhance the authentication strength of those applications. So if you got an app that doesn't support MFA, hook it up to Azure AD App Proxy. Put Azure AD Authentication in front of it. Do risk-based access control. It's pretty sweet. And the last thing is developers are important. They are our lifeblood. They are why we're here. They build the apps that we use every single day. So work with them to migrate those apps to open standards. And if you decide to connect those applications up to Azure AD natively with something like OAuth, take advantage of the Graph API. The Graph API is a great way to enrich those applications with the rich data of the Microsoft ecosystem. So with that, I'd like to swap over to Nitika here, who will be demoing for you some of the cool things that we have for you to discover the applications and to get going using with them quickly.
Thank you, Adam. So I have a tough job here because this laptop is sliding while I'm going to be demoing. So bear with me if I'm being a little slow. So Adam talked about the importance of having one place for your apps. What I'm going to show you next is how you can achieve that with Azure AD. So the step 0 here is to get familiar with all these amazing resources. So simply go to AKMS/migrate apps. And here you can find all the information you need. We have a white paper. We have deployment guides. We have tools that you can use to discover apps and start migrating them to Azure AD. I want to dig deeper into this ADFS migration tool. So here we have a PowerShell script that you can run in your environment to discover all the apps that are connected with ADFS. And even better, the report shows you which apps are ready for migration. So we ran this tool against one of the large enterprises, and this is what the result looked like. Thank you so much. So here I can see that the large enterprise had 2,739 apps. As Adam was saying, you have 10x the times of app that you think of. The next thing I see is that about 15% of the apps can't be migrated. The flip side is 85% of the apps are ready for migration right away or with some little work. So here I can see the warnings associated with the apps. I want to dig deeper into what those warnings are. So here in this spreadsheet, I can see the application name. I can see the warning. Looks like most of the warnings are related to my transform rules. So then I want to look at my claim rule details to understand what the transform rule issues are and whether those can be fixed within my environment. So what happens at the end of this, right? So I know which apps can be migrated. I have 22 apps that are ready to go. Some of these apps might be SaaS apps that can be integrated with Azure AD in one click. So let's imagine you discover that your organization is using Zendesk. So I'm in the Azure portal, I'm looking at Zendesk, and I'm looking at single sign-on. Trust me, I was setting up single sign-on for the first time with Zendesk last week, and I was pleasantly surprised. All I did was I signed up for a trial for Zendesk, took in the URL, which was just F128.185. I scrolled down. I didn't care about all these steps. Didn't make sense to me. And I clicked on Set up Identiverse Zendesk. It asked me for my Zendesk credentials. I clicked Sign in. Then it asked me to click on a few more buttons. While that loads. Yes, I want to set up single sign-on. That's why I'm here. Thank you for filling out all this SAML single sign-on details for me. Save. And then I go back to my Zendesk single sign-on portal.
Any of you folks ever make mistakes? This is a way to avoid making those mistakes. I mess it up all the time.
So traditionally, how would you test this, right? Like you would try to sign in with your account to see if single sign-on is set up correctly, and then you'll actually nag your friends to try it so you can confirm that it's not just you and it works for your friends within the organization as well. With this single button, you can test your single sign-on setup in a few clicks. So here I can select the account that I just set up for single sign-on, and voila, I am in the Zendesk application. I didn't have to manually sign in my credentials, go to another browser and try it, or nag my friends. I can just test it within the portal itself. Now,
isn't that awesome? Come on. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually demoed this on stage one time, and the test button found something that I had missed, and it saved my demo. So I'm like, I love it.
It saved me last week. I didn't have to think too much about the setup. So now you are going to have some legacy apps, right? The apps that you need to keep on premises for compliance reasons, or those are short-lived applications that you don't want to invest in migrating. However, you want those apps to be available for the user from any location, any device, and you want to apply conditional access policies or other security requirements to those apps. So with Azure AD App Proxy, you can configure single sign-on for these legacy applications and require conditional access. So all I did here was to define the URL, the internal URL and the external URL that I needed. I wanted to use Azure AD for auth, and then that's pretty much it. The next thing I could do was to test the application again. So really making it dead drop simple for you to test your configuration rather than having to manually try it out on your end. So here I can click on Open Application, and I am in the dashboard application, and I am able to sign in from Identiverse network. I don't have to VPN in to my corporate network to view this application. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Adam to talk about the go-tos.
Cool. So one click. So we've got 25 apps supported today. We're adding more all the time. You will see on the next slide, there is a little link that you can actually tell us, hey, Adam, I need this app. Click it, tell us what you need, we'll get it hooked up. We work with ISVs all the time. One of the coolest things is when customers talk to their ISVs on our behalf and they connect them with us. So please do that for us. So as Nitika mentioned, check out aka.ms/migrateapps to get started with your migration process. We've also got some in-product capabilities coming around this soon. Use that sign-in extension that Nitika showed to automate your testing and configuration. It's a really, really powerful tool. Try the app proxy to secure access to your remote apps. This is a pretty easy thing to get started with. It really does take just a few minutes to set up. And if you're interested in talking with your developers, teach them about how to modernize those legacy applications. If you've got an application that's going to live for another 10 years, what have you, make it awesome, right? It's just waiting to happen. If you need an app, let us know. aka.ms/Azure AD app request. And if you ever have feedback, literally that email alias goes into my inbox amongst a lot of other folks, and we will listen to you and get back. So that's apps. What's next? Users. One identity per user. So this is about collapsing many copies of someone down into one thing. This is Naomi. Hey, Naomi, how's it going? She was created in an on-premises directory system 10 years ago. Great, got Naomi. Hey, wait a minute. What do you mean she's in SAP? Oh, we just got her in Workday too? Wait, now there's 3 Naomis. She needs to be in Box and Salesforce, and oh my gosh, so many Naomis. What am I going to do? This is crazy. How are you possibly going to know which one is the real Naomi? I don't know, right? It would be great if you could get down to 1. Why is that interesting? Well, first of all, if you look at Azure Active Directory, a lot of people think, oh, they just do SSO. No, Azure Active Directory is a provisioning hub. It allows you to bring data about users from wherever they are into one place so that you have that single source of control. How many of you guys have mystery scripts? Mystery scripts? What's a mystery script? Anyone have any idea what a mystery script is? Well, in 1983, some intern wrote something in Perl that does something really important about moving users around within your organization, and it happens to break right when you were sitting down to tell your daughter a bedtime story. I just had a daughter about 6 months ago, so that's top of my mind. That sucks. You don't want to have that happen, right? What about my favorite, the Timothy API. How many of you guys folks have Timothy API? What is the Timothy API? The Timothy API is the poor person who gets to manually create the user accounts within some connected application. Anyone have this happening anywhere? Anyone? Okay, got a couple, yeah. He is paid way too much money to do that. So why wouldn't you want to automate all this stuff? It's not crazy to want more automation, right? That's what this is all about. So what are some of the benefits? Well, first of all, managing risk. If Naomi loses her job or changes roles, let's say she moves from finance to something less sensitive, well, she should not have access to those finance applications. Deprovisioning is the critical thing. Provisioning's fine. I mean, that's about access, right? But removing access is the thing. It's that same big red button I talked about, but from the account perspective. So those accounts need to be disabled, they need to be removed, and that needs to happen automatically so you don't have to rely on those scripts and poor Timothy. The second is centralized user management enables insights across your infrastructure. This allows you to bring what you need to your auditors to pass your audits, to be compliant. It also allows you to stop maintaining those mystery scripts because every single time you got to crack it open and understand what's going on, you're wasting precious time that could be spent on something else. What I like to say is make the system work for you. You shouldn't work for the system. This is about making the system work for you. And finally, if poor Timothy doesn't have to manually do something every single time a new user comes on board, it turns out that one of the most important things to loyalty and engagement of users is what is their experience like when they join your company? Are they feeling supported? Are they feeling good? Or are they feeling crappy because it took them 30 days to get access to something and no one is helping them out? So wouldn't it be great if they came on board and everything was ready to go for them? That's the dream. And so how do you get there with Azure AD? Well, first of all, I am sure that a number of you folks are already using Azure AD Connect because of the fact that you are Office 365 subscribers. That's great. This enables you to bring data from SQL, LDAP, Active Directory, and bring it up into the cloud. But not many people are aware that we also are a standards-compliant provisioning platform. Every single change in our directory is emitted as a SCIM event. So if you have an app that supports SCIM, you can subscribe to those events, and you can actually update your own personal apps with stuff that we're emitting. We also have pre-built connectors to all sorts of apps, and we're adding them every single day. The last thing is take a look at our automated creation capabilities. Bring in data from Workday, bring in data from other HR apps into the system so that you have that single view of Naomi, so you can take action on that. How many of you folks knew that we did provisioning down to SaaS applications? Raise your hand. OK. How many folks didn't know that? OK, a few. Cool. Glad to hear that. All right, and I'm going to hand over to Nitika, who will now talk about how you can automate that user lifecycle with a cool demo.
All right. So in this demo, I'm going to show how you can automate provisioning from an application like Workday, your cloud HR application, to a directory like Azure AD. So I'm looking at the Workday admin portal. Here's Jack. He's one of my good friends. He's actually a manager in the IT help desk team. And it's great because he's the first line of defense anytime users are complaining about identities. So I thank him every day. I send him chocolates and flowers all the time. So here what I can see is, yes, he's a manager in IT help desk. He's based out of Dallas. So what I've done is I've set up provisioning from Workday to Azure AD. So here I'm going to look for Jack Taylor in Azure AD. So Jack Taylor shows up here. What you can see here is that all the information I saw in Workday, remember, manager in the IT help desk team, that shows up in Azure AD. He's working out of Dallas, that shows up in Azure AD. So what's happening under the covers is that the user was provisioned from Workday to Active Directory and from Active Directory to Azure AD using Azure AD Connect. Now digging deeper, what does this configuration look like? How hard is it to set up this provisioning, automated provisioning between Workday and Azure AD? So this is what the provisioning experience looks like. The first thing I need to do is to install a lightweight agent that knows how to talk to Workday and AD. Once I've installed that agent, the next thing I want to do is to define the Workday credentials and the URL, so we know which endpoint to go talk to and how. So before I move on here, I want to test the credentials. I want to make sure I didn't fat finger something in the credentials or the URL. So it looks like I'm able to connect to Workday, so that's great. Next, I want to define the mappings. How do I want to bring the data from Workday to AD? I can customize the mappings for how the username should show up, how the email address should show up, and so on. And next, I can enable provisioning. With the new capabilities that we have added around monitoring provisioning, so here you can see a progress bar which shows how provisioning is working in your organization. I can also see high-level stats like, hey, we provisioned 16 users from Workday to Azure AD as well. So far I talked about how you can automate provisioning from Cloud HR to Azure AD. As Adam was talking about, you can provision to SaaS apps as well. So here I have Slack set up for automated provisioning. The configuration is the same as the Workday scenario, so you just have to learn it once, and then you can apply it to all the apps that we can provision to. And what's cool about this is now Mr. Jack Taylor has a single identity across Workday, Azure AD, Slack, and other apps that I've set up. He's not like Naomi, who's like dealing with 7 different accounts and don't know where to go change password and how to have control over that. From an IT perspective, it means that you have a single point where you can see all the sign-in information about Jack Taylor, right? You don't have to go to 7 different systems to see what is Jack doing, especially when it comes to compliance and giving your auditors reports. This is really helpful. With that, I'm going to just hand off to Adam again to talk about some go-dos in this area.
All right. Thanks, Nitika. Oh, I got it.
Almost there.
All right, go-dos. So with Azure AD Connect, one of the critical things is to make sure that that is highly available. So set up a staging server so that if something happens, you can swap over. The other thing is make sure that's up to date. How many of you folks know that your Azure AD Connect is up to date? OK, good. If you don't know, you should, because it's really important. The second is you can use Azure AD Connect Health to monitor all this hybrid stuff. So the connectors that she talked about with Workday, with Azure AD App Proxy, Azure AD Connect itself, you can all monitor those things to make sure that everything is looking good. When you are thinking about apps, think about provisioning to those apps. So in step 1, when you're really digging into the SSO, think about how you're going to do provisioning as well. The earlier you think about that, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to be able to extract value from the system right away. You can learn more by checking out these links here, Azure AD Provisioning at aka.ms. And there's tutorials for every single one of these apps that you can get started with. If you got feedback or need a feature, again, this email alias goes to me, Nitika, lots of other folks, Azure AD Provisioning at Microsoft.com. And we'll make sure that you have access to this deck as well. All right. So this is near and dear to my heart as well. Why are we here? We're here for our users. As frustrating as they might be sometimes, we literally exist to make their lives awesome. So we need to empower them, but make sure that we do so securely. Sometimes it feels like this, though. Oh, crap, I had a security incident. Oh, wait, I have to support them? Oh, I have remote users who need access to things? I have to audit this whole ship. Oh, no, this is not fine at all. This can be really challenging, right? I mean, it's like, again, one of those burdens coming down from on high. And it's like, oh, how do I deal with this? Well, you deal with it in the same kind of way that we talked about previously. And there's many benefits. So the first is you need to centralize your authentication policy. That's how you get secure. Once you get your users in one place, great. You actually are there. You just need to make sure that you've got an authentication policy that enables you to have one place to manage risk. That's critical. So that enables you to address your compliance almost trivially. I mean, if everything is coming to one place, they can see all the authentications occurring against your whole system. Then, hey, you just have to have them go sit in a room and look through the spreadsheet of all your logs, right? Getting there is the key. You can also empower them, right? I mean, we all know and love self-service. Password reset is a great example, but there are other ones as well. Think about when somebody calls your support desk, what they're actually asking for. Are they asking for access? We have tools for that, right? Consider, as we get in the operational section, you'll see that once you have insights into all this data, you can actually start to plumb this out of the system and see like, oh, so that's what my users actually need. And the last is like, when you bring apps to your users, you need to make sure that they're educated and they're able to know actually where to go to use them. I'll touch on this in a second, but if you set up the system correctly, they can access those applications from any device, wherever they are in the world, while remaining secure. That's the difference between an STS and an IAM solution. An IAM solution enables that, truly. So how do you get there with Azure AD? The first thing is turn on password hash sync today. Why would you want to do this? Anyone? I give you the hint on the slide. Well, great. Leak credentials, exactly. So this is a really cool feature. Basically, we can we look at all the breaches of passwords, like on pastebin and all that kind of stuff, and we hash them with the same hashing algorithm that we hash all of our other stuff with. And then we're able to see what of your users have passwords that have been leaked in a breach. Do you want to just enable them to change them immediately? Do you want to prevent them from access? It's up to you, but now you have that insight. You didn't have that before. It's the power of the cloud, baby. The second is maybe a little more subtle, but on-premises infrastructure can be attacked. I don't know if any of you have had the unfortunate experience of having that happen, but it sucks. Wouldn't it be awesome if when that's happening, you can swap over to a different authentication capability so that if your on-premises infrastructure is hosed, that your business isn't hosed? It's about business continuity. Think about how you can do that. Are you able to do that today? Password hashing can enable that. The second is make the system work for you. Set these policies to make sure that access is controlled automatically. This is about conditional access, of course, but you might not also know we've got dynamic groups and other capabilities that can ensure that when somebody joins and leaves the organization that they get the right size access as they move along. Look into our entitlements lifecycle management capabilities. This is a brand new set of capabilities that enables identity governance end-to-end. I've got a link for you that you can check out later. It's pretty cool stuff. Come by the booth. We can talk more about it as well. Turn on those self-service capabilities. I know it seems maybe pedantic to say, but literally this can pay for your whole subscription. We've had customers where it pays for your whole subscription and more. And it's more than just password reset, right? It's about letting the business review access, letting them attest to make sure that the right people have access to the right stuff at the right time. And finally, that user education piece is critical. I mean, we spend a ton of time educating our users. So make sure they know where to go to get access to stuff. The cool thing about Azure AD in particular is that we're just spreading apps all over the user experience. We work with the Office team, the Intune team. We've got our own app portals. You can make it work for you in a way that works for your organization. You don't have to pick and choose one thing. They're just available to you all over the place. And Nitika is going to show you that with our next demo.
Thank you, Adam. So in this demo, I'm going to show how an end user, and in this case, it's Phoebe, can discover all the apps that the organization has made available to her and access those easily. So I'm in the Access panel. How many of you know about the Access panel? Quite a few of you. So this is my one-stop shop where I can see all the work applications. Now, like most of you in the room, you don't know about Access panel. Don't worry about it. You live and breathe in Office, right? Yes. You look at your emails every day, your files. We have the apps available for you in the Office portal. So here you can see not just the Office apps, but all the apps that you have integrated with Azure AD. So you can see all your own apps, the F128 Ad Manager, and so on.
And the cool thing is that this is right available from your search experience, and we're working with them closely every day to bring them into even more places. So it's a pretty cool partnership that we've built with them.
Yeah. The other place I want to call out is if you have the sign-in extension, right, you can search for the apps right from the extension itself. So I can look for Salesforce, I can click on it to get single sign-on. So really, building on what Adam was saying earlier, we have really tried hard to make the apps available to the user, whether it be through Access Panel, through Office Portal, through Intune, making them as part of your desktop experience. It's everywhere. So the next thing I want to call out is, hey, IS Phoebe, I've been told by my boss to look at this dashboard. I have no idea what that dashboard is. So I'm looking here, and I'm looking for this F128 dashboard. I don't see it here. My traditional approach would be, I'm going to call Jack Taylor. Do you remember the help desk manager? I'm going to call his team and say, hey, I need access to this dashboard application, and my boss wants me to review this immediately. But it will take a help desk like hours to actually give her access to the application.
Or days.
Right. So with self-service application access, I can just search for the application right here when it shows up. And I can add the application and get access to it almost immediately. So here I can see the dashboard application. I can add it, and then this will set up single sign-on for the application, and I can get to it almost immediately.
And if you want, you can trigger an approval workflow for this and all that kind of jazz. This is a great way to not have them knock on your door when you need something like this to happen.
Yeah, it's great for Phoebe. She doesn't have to spend like hours on phone with help desk, and great for IT. You are not in the way of the user, right?
So some go-dos. Check out aka.ms/getauthright to learn about Cloud Auth benefits. Try it out today. You can try it on a pilot environment, no problem. There's some really cool content at this deployment plans link as well. We've got like 15 plus of these deployment plans. We've got 3 or 4 of them focused just on authentication migration. So moving from ADFS to password authentication, password hashing, learn exactly how to do that, best practices, all that kind of stuff. It's a treasure trove of content. Check out the entitlements lifecycle management stuff that I talked about. This is pretty rad. We have some members of the team here at the booth. You can ask them more. And yeah, that's it. I mean, this is something which is within your power to quickly do, but you need to do those first 2 steps. You need to get your users and apps into one place, and then you can turn on these cool capabilities. OK, so my favorite section, I can't even say it. I'm not going to try. The O word.
Operational insights.
Yes.
Or operational.
This is about understanding what the system is doing. And who wants to understand what the system is doing? Well, you folks do, of course. Your auditors do, your businesses. But it's also about showing return on investment. Are you spending your money correctly? This is a person who actually did this. In France, they took I don't know why all my examples are from France, but whatever. They rented a room in a museum, and they dumped a bunch of hay in there. And they put a needle somewhere in the haystack, and this poor fellow spent 2 days looking for the needle. Literally.
Real life example.
Happened. You can Google it, or Bing it, I should say. Yes, that's right. But in reality, this is one haystack. But you actually, it's like a room of haystacks. And then the hay comes from the ceiling. And you're like, oh, my gosh. And then there's like 50 needles. So good luck. You got to find the red one. The point being is that it can be tough if you've got many haystacks and one needle, or many haystacks and many needles. So what is this whole thing about? Well, this is about centralization again, but of that log capability. So what is critical here is that without centralization of your logs, it is really hard to correlate security incidents. It is even harder to correlate what the impact is. How many folks have been involved in a security incident ever? OK, yeah, right? I mean, I am in live site myself as well, and I know that experience of what's going on? And then you've got your C star coming in being like, what is happening? You got to tell me the impact. You're like, I don't know. I got to dig through all the logs. So getting them in one place at least sets you up for success, right? It also enables you to operate with least privilege. This is critical. How many folks have a global admin account that you use on a daily basis? OK, bad news bears. Bad news bears. You need to get away from that. No more global admin. If my friend Vince were here, he would be like wearing a shirt that says that on it. He's our RBAC PM. The point being is that if you can look at the logs to see how much usage you're getting on those accounts, you can figure out the ways to offer those folks some lower privilege roles so that you aren't so exposed. That one pane of glass, you know how we talked about like coming in and validating the policy behind the scenes, like your compliance auditors are going to look like, oh, do you have strong authentication policy, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the cool thing is that once you set that up, they can actually now look and validate the operational health of the system, right? The system's running for 100 days and you got logs all in one place. It's pretty easy for them to see like, oh, they're actually following the things that they told me that they're following. Managing costs, this one's really interesting. So like, if you've got all your users using apps, and they're all coming to one place, and you can literally look and be like, oh, wait, we've got 50,000 Salesforce licenses. We're only using 1,000 of them. Well, hey, I just saved the company X number of dollars, right? And then you can kind of put that on your resume or whatever. Point being is that you can actually find out if you're using what you're paying for, right? And be in compliance within your organizational boundaries there. This can also help you to determine those support drivers. You might have a hypothesis that they're one thing or the other, but maybe you find some other interesting things out of the system. It also enables you to showcase the impact of the great work that you're doing. How many people are using this app? How many people are signing in every day to the thing that I helped to set up? And the last thing is that once you are able to look at users' behaviors, you might discover some interesting stuff. I mean, as a PM at Microsoft, we have telemetry that tells us what our users are doing all the time. And we find stuff like, oh, we designed the system in a particular way, and then turns out they're using it a different way. And like that's how we learn and make this make it better. So that same capability can apply to you. So how to do it with Azure AD? Maintain a principal of least privilege. No more global admin. Death to global admins. If you're a global admin, I'm sorry. Use privileged identity management to create break glass accounts. There's a link I'll show you later. It's really simple, aka.ms/breakglass. Use Azure Monitor, bring all those logs in one place. That's what Nitika is going to demo to you. It's really cool. There's some out-of-box workbooks you can take a look at that'll give you some insights right away. And once you find the support drivers, just turn on self-service. It's really easy. It'll save you so much money and time. And with that, I'll hand it over to Nitika, who will talk about I'm not going to even try.
Operational insights. All right, so this is going to be a mega demo. So I have like 4 different demos that are planned out. One is we're going to start off with how do you keep logs for longer than 90 days? We hear that from customers all the time. They want to keep the logs for maybe a year or for the lifetime. Well, I'll show you how you could do that. The second demo is going to be how many of you use SIEM and you want to push your sign-in logs and audit logs to your SIEM? A lot of you, right? Cool. So I'm going to show how you can stream your logs to Event Hub, which can then be integrated with your SIEM system. The third demo is going to be log analytics. How do you push your data to log analytics to get quick insights, as well as a powerful query experience? Lastly, we're going to end with a Power BI dashboard, which helps you understand the usage of Azure AD in minutes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So 4 demos. Hopefully they go smoothly and I'm done. All right. So I am in the monitoring section within the Azure AD portal. So I'm looking at diagnostic settings. And this is where you set up all your integration with log analytics, Event Hub, as well as storage account. So let's call this Identiverse. So remember the first demo I mentioned? You want to keep your logs longer than 90 days. So here I can just select this box to send my logs to my storage account. I can choose whether I want to send my audit logs and my sign-in logs and the retention period. So here 0 means the logs are going to live there forever. I could tune that to be anywhere from 0 to 365 days as well. Is that helpful? Like, is that something you've been wanting to do? Yeah?
Yeah, cool.
Great. The next thing is you want to push your logs to your SIEM system. So here, by clicking this checkbox, you can stream your logs to Event Hub. And from Event Hub, you can send these logs to SIEM systems like Splunk, ArcSight, Sumo Logic, or any system that you're using in your organization. The last thing is sending your logs to log analytics. This gives you quick wins that I'm going to just show you, and also gives you a powerful query experience where you can run queries to figure out what the user is doing, and so on. So I have all this set up in my environment, so I'll move on from here. So I have my logs going to log analytics. So what I can do next is I can look at these out-of-the-box workbooks. So I can go here and see what's going on with my sign-ins. I can see that there are 2,000 sign-ins in the last 14 days when this loads. And then most of them are successful, which is great. But there are some failures. So there are 39 failures that I want to learn more about. We have another workbook for you. So you can scroll down on this page, and you'll see a sign-in failure analysis workbook. Here you can see what were the top errors. These are the users that were impacted by these errors, and dig deeper into what's going on with these failures.
On the sign-in, can you actually find out who's logging into specific application?
Yes, and I'll show you how to query this.
Or is it just Azure, are you signing into Azure?
The question is, if on the sign-ins view, can you see who's signing into a specific application? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Do you have a dashboard that shows that?
I can show you in Power BI right away, and I can show you how to query that.
And also, if you go to enterprise applications, there's a new capability called App Insights. You can click on that guy, and you can see all sorts of interesting information about signing success rate to specific apps, as well as the errors that are being generated by those specific apps.
This is
we
what
can show
Adam
you
is
more about
talking
that
about.
at the booth.
I just pulled it up. So this is what Adam was talking about. So we have this dashboard where you can see all the applications that the users are signing into, and the success rate and failure rate per application, and then you can go into the logs to troubleshoot that.
Useful?
How far beyond can you go in date range?
I'm sorry?
How far beyond you can go in a date range? Is it over 90 days?
So for this view, it's 30 days. We'd love to get some feedback on that, though.
For sure. So how many of you use conditional access? We have an out-of-box playbook or workbook that can help you understand your conditional access usage. So I just clicked on that workbook, and I can see these are the sign-ins that are using conditional access. Too bad in this environment, most of my sign-ins are not protected by conditional access. That's something that I need to go troubleshoot immediately. Why are my policies not applying? I meant to have conditional access apply to all my sign-ins. So really, this can help you understand how conditional access is used, what are the various controls that are happening, what are the different apps that are using conditional access as well. So far, we talked about quick wins. So these were the out-of-the-box workbooks that you get with Azure AD. Imagine I'm trying to investigate a security incident. I have a friend here, Maria. She does that all the time. She's a data scientist on our team. And I want to find out what were the risky sign-ins in the last 3 days. So I'm in log analytics here, and I have this simple query. Time is 3 days, and is risky is true. And I want to see these users, who they are. So here I can see the output. And I'll zoom out. Great. So I can see the output here. I can sort it by the count. What I'm seeing in this environment is I'm Timothy, and I'm signing in from this new location, and hence there are a lot of alerts. But there's this guy, Jerry, who's signing in and has a lot of suspicious activity. Based on my past experience, I know this Jerry works in the IT team, and he has some global admin permissions as well. Next, I want to find out what actions did Jerry take in the last 3 days within my directory. So I can just switch over to my next query here, which is against the audit logs instead of sign-in logs. And I can run this query to see what Jerry did within the organization. So it looks like he changed the password for the user. He assigned a privileged role to a user as well. It's time for me to pick up the phone and call Jerry as to what's going on with your account. Why are you taking such malicious actions within the tenant? And why are we seeing some suspicious activity? So really, with log analytics, you have a powerful query experience where you can run any queries you like to understand the health of Azure AD and investigate security incidents.
And you couldn't get there without those first 2 steps, right? Because you got to centralize before you can get access to this cool stuff.
All right, last demo. This is the Azure AD Activity Log dashboard. It took me 3 clicks to set it up. So all I had to do was to log into Power BI, select this content pack, and boom, this was where I landed. This gives me a good understanding of how Azure AD is used in my organization. So I can look at this, and I can tell most of my usage is in US. That makes sense. And then there is some usage in India. My teammate is actually working remotely right now, so that makes sense. It all checks out. I can see the sign-ins by date. I can understand the top applications that are being used in my organization. I can understand the usage of the apps by day as well. I can understand, are my users using Mac or not? Looks like they're all using Windows pretty much. And then I can dig deeper on any of these to see what's going on. So here I can see that there are 38 apps. I can see 22 unique users. I can do more filtering. And this is all available out of the box. It took me really 3 clicks to set this Power BI dashboard up. And now I know what's going on within my Azure AD tenant.
Cool. What do you guys think? That's quite the demo, huh? Thanks, Nitika. You rock.
Thanks.
So, a few go-dos. Send your logs to Azure Monitor. Check it out. There's a link right there. Pretty easy to remember. The next, check out those out-of-box workbooks. I mean, they're high-value things. They really bring a lot of value. If you got feedback on them, you want more stuff, let us know.
Yep.
Create those break glass accounts using privileged identity management. Really easy to remember, aka.ms/breakglass. And hey, grab that content pack, install it on the plane, check it out. Everybody uses Wi-Fi in the plane now. It should be pretty easy for you to do, right?
In 2 minutes.
So, your go-dos. Today, go try out some of the self-service capabilities. Try out our app discovery stuff that we talked about with Cloud App Security. Make an app available to users. Set up single sign-on. Get provisioning working. Start looking at your ADFS. Use those tools. We'll have more capabilities coming in product soon. In the next month, start to monitor your usage. Drive some of those insights back into your organization. Go think about turning on cloud authentication to get the value that I was talking about. And then over time, think about how you can become more efficient. Think about how you can turn on self-service capabilities, how you can delegate down to the business, how you can understand those support drivers, take action, become excellent in your operational craft. And then you're going to be like this dude. Let's bust it out. Yeah. aka.ms/strong identity. We got stickers for you too.
Yes.
And with that, we thank you so much. We are so grateful for your time and attention today. Thanks for the wonderful questions, sir, in the front. And we've got more. Keep the questions coming.
So the fact that you're showing that ADFS to Azure AD, does that mean that you're actually going away from ADFS?
So the question is, the fact that we're talking about moving from ADFS to Azure AD, does that mean that we're going away from ADFS? Is your question from the perspective of the Microsoft product ecosystem? So ADFS is a STS that fits a role. For cloud scale identity and access management, you are better served at centralizing on Azure AD. That doesn't mean that ADFS is suddenly going to fall off the face of the planet. So that does not mean anything about product direction. It means that we recommend for identity and access management at the cloud scale to centralize on a cloud system. Great question.
And also the fact that you're also saying that application proxy is now, you can actually install application proxy and application proxy agent also needs to be installed internally in order for that to work. But the question is, you're saying that on-site apps also to move to Azure AD is the fact that you just don't want ADFS to be there. So from a long run, you're saying, what I'm trying to find out is it the right approach to move to Azure AD and get away from ADFS? Is that what you recommend?
Yes, that's what we're recommending.
Okay.
Yep. Sir.
So with competitors in the market, like
Yes.
King, Okta, SailPoint, you name it, right? There's competitors all across the board for this. Based upon everything I'm seeing today, it looks like the only way to take advantage of this is to use those services from Microsoft. Or are there ways that we just haven't discussed today for us to be able to consume information from those other systems, platforms, to utilize at least some of the features that you're describing today in Azure?
Are there specific capabilities that you'd like to be able to utilize?
The one about application usage, so maybe even consuming logs from, say, King, for an example, to say, here's all the sign-ons, right? You talk about like pulling into a central single pane of glass,
Yeah.
which is much like the XKCD comic. There's 45 standards now instead of 44.
I hear you.
So that's kind of the.
So I think that you know, what we're providing is a platform for you to integrate applications in a standards compliant way that enables you to, you know, have an understanding of the ecosystem that you're setting up. I think that what we're offering is a capability to take the data and the insights out of that system and to put them wherever you want. right? We talked about integrating with the SIEM system, correlating between ping logs. I mean, ping is one of our partners. That's why we're here today. Correlating between those pieces of information is absolutely possible using the tools that we're giving you. Of course, there are specific things that you'll be able to execute within our ecosystem, but our goal is to provide an ecosystem that works across the board. That's why we integrate with thousands and thousands of ISVs. That's why we build our app gallery in such a way that supports the third-party ecosystem. Sir?
SharePoint 2013 being on site needs to be moved to the Azure AD. Is it possible? And does it need to be moved to modern auth or classic auth is good enough?
So the question is, SharePoint 2013 running in on-premises, is it possible to move to Azure AD? Does it need to use modern or legacy auth? That is something that I'm not an expert in. I'm happy to take a follow-up on that. You can either tweet me or I can give you my email. If you come up here, I'll connect you with the right folks. Thank you for the question. Sir? Oh,
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it, man.
Okay.
So the answer was yes. If you want to leave it on premises, you can use the Azure AD proxy. Excellent point. I forget the second part of your answer. I'll just repeat it so people can hear. Yep. Yeah, Azure AD has supported WS Fed for a long time. So,
Okay.
Cool.
Anyone want stickers?
Stickers? Yeah. Come on up, sir. I'll start with you in the corner in the white T-shirt.
Go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to use Skim inbound to Azure AD?
Nice to meet you.
Can we take that offline? Can we chat at the booth? Okay. Sir, same question?
All right, so just one question. What is the roadmap for bringing in more apps to connect, like, say, PeopleWorks, stuff like that?
For HR?
Yeah.
So we have plans for additional HR apps, SuccessFactors on our plans, and I think there's one more. UltiPro is another one on our plans, and you were asking about PeopleWorks. We'll have to follow up on that one.
My other question was
Yeah.
more based on what he was mentioning about other systems like SailPoint, Identity IQ. Are there any plans to have some sort of integration and talk between Azure and stuff like Identity IQ?
I would want to understand more about the integration, like precisely what you're talking about. Okay, that sounds good. Sir, the rest of you folks, why don't you just come on up and we'll hang